because it has to be adapted to the needs of the different ages.
Yeah, that's great. So that should be adaptive, compassionate parenting. And I really like what you say that so the adolescent need the freedom to discover the world, and when something become overwhelmed or become trouble, they still have their backup by the parents, and they feel safe and reliable and trusted, and yes, that will empower them to go out and discover more. So you just mentioned about keeping them safety, and I understand that it is kind of healthy boundaries. So can you give the parents here some advice about what kind of safety boundaries they might set, especially in adolescence age? Because now there are a lot of folks pushing them around on social network and even in the real life. So what might be safe and what might be unsafe for them?
Yes. Well, maybe before I answer your question directly, let me go back a little bit to say that this has to be prepared over time. So if at each stage of the development of the child, as a parent, you do your best to accompany them, to be there with them, but in the different forms, different ways that is adapted to the age, then when this shift into adolescence comes, it's not such a big break. But if you have not had that before, it's very difficult to suddenly build that later. So, there's one story that I often tell, because for us it was very significant as a family when our children became just preteen or teen, just beginning teenage years. And until then, for them, it was quite obvious that we would go on holiday together and do everything together. At that certain point, it's not so interesting for them anymore just to go on holiday with the parents. And so they would like to do something a bit more independent. But before that moment, as a family, we did a very adventurous walk. So we walked for 1 month over the mountains from Switzerland all the way to the Mediterranean Sea, to France, 1 month. And we had to carry our food on our back, and we had to carry our tents, and it was really hard, and it was, a lot of hardship, but it was a fantastic adventure. And it was not only Lisi, my wife, and me and our 2 children, but they could each one invite one friend. So there were 4 kids. So they had their own little life, 4 kids together, and the parents were there. And so we had like an adventure together, because we were facing the same hardships, all together. And for them, it really, and it was just at the moment where they were becoming adolescent. Yeah. And it created a very strong family bond. So, of course, not every family will be able to do this in this way, but you might find other ways to do it. But the question is, how can you live something together that is intense? That is a real adventure, that is not just, okay, we go to a nice resort and, we have a fun time at the beach, which is fine, but it's nothing special. It will not stay in their memory. But that really stayed in their memory because it was a lot of effort. It was a lot of, and I think that this experience allowed our children then later, when they became really adolescent and they did take more distance from us and lead their own way, that they remembered this experience that we had together as a family. And they knew that, okay, if there's something happening, our parents will be there for us. Now, going back to your more direct question, I think it's a matter of really, again, empathy. So observing, being present enough to observe when is a child's behavior so that it's just experiencing life, and that's good to experience life and push the boundaries a little bit. And when is it going in a direction that might be harmful? Again, it could be drugs or alcohol or cigarettes or some kind of risk-taking behavior that might have consequences for the future, or not wanting to go to school anymore and things like that. Where maybe the adolescent at that moment doesn't realize that their behavior might jeopardize their whole life. And that's really the task of the parents, to explain to them, certain things are fine, you know, become more independent, do things with our friends, push the boundaries, try out new things, but be aware that certain behaviors might have long-term consequences that you will not be able to change in the future. So that's again where parents should be really there as advisors, as mentors, and out of our life experience, share with them what is acceptable because it's just part of adolescent and being a little bit crazy, a little bit fun, and maybe dressing in a funny way or having a strange haircut or whatever it is, or going out a little bit too long in the evening or whatever, which is not a big thing, or really developing in direction that might be hurtful for the future. And there, as a parent, it's our task to really be very clear. Don't do that. That's not good for you. It's not for me, it's for you.
Yes, I understand that, and I think that the key point here is about not just building on rules, because rules is just a strict way and very unflexible. But when we be present with the children, be compassionate to them, be empathize with them, and then we can understand them time by time, moment by moment. And I really like, I myself believe that the best learning happen when we have great memories. And one thing very key point, I think the parents might remember is that we can go ahead, so we can prepare some very amazing and helpful memories for the children before they come to the next stage of their life. And this thing will be very interesting, just like your adventure walk 1 month before adolescent of your children. And you also share the evidence for the thing you said previously, is that the social circle, when you overlap the families and friends and everything. So that's might be I think that you are not just only the expert, but also you are the practitioner, the one who practice what you are teaching here. And so there is another difficulty that not come from just the parent and the children, but come from other people, just like the grandparents or other relative or even the whole society. So there are a lot of opinion and trying to influence to the family, even on the social network with advertising or some trends or something like that. How can compassionate parents can be be firmly, boldly walking this way, while a lot of us are trying to push them away?
Yes, I fully agree that we live in a time where there's a lot of influence that is, having an effect on the children and on adolescent even more then, because then they are more exposed to it, social media and things like that. And I think, again, it's really about, do we build a strong foundation? If we have not built a strong foundation, if we wait until it happens, it's a bit late. But it's really the process of building a strong foundation. So again, as you said, I'm not speaking only as an educational expert, but really as a father, grandfather. I'm even a great grandfather, and I've been interacting a lot with my grandchildren lately, because now I'm in Switzerland since quite a while, and I've seen them a lot. And so the three children of my daughter, they are 13, 16, and 18. So just in this age, And I'm really impressed how well they are going through their teenage years. So I feel that, it makes me really happy, because I think that the seeds that we have planted with our children, they continue it in their own way, which is different than the way we did it, but in a way that is really, that I see is really, really helpful. And so again, to give you a few practical examples, I'm very impressed when spend time with my grandchildren. They spend a weekend with us. I hardly ever see them on their phone, and they're teenagers. are hardly ever sitting on the phone. So much so that sometimes Lisi and I, we want to contact them and they don't pick up their phone because they're not looking at their phone. And then we get upset. Hey, they should look at their phone. I'm trying to call them. But actually, it makes me very happy and very proud because I see that their parents and their family has cultivated so many other interests in their lives that they don't feel that it's necessary. You see, because again, just you were speaking about rules, and I think there's two sides to rules. On one hand, rules are necessary because they create a framework. So children know what is allowed, what is not allowed, what is good, what is bad. So we need a framework. But within the framework, we have to be very flexible. And as long as rules is about not allowing, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, you should not look at your phone, it won't work. If you tell to the children, don't look at your phone, it won't work. What you have to do is create a situation, what you offer them to do is more interesting than looking at the phone. If you're at home and you don't do anything with the kids, you're in front of your screen, but you get upset if they look at their phone and you say, you should not look at your phone, it won't work. But if you say, okay, let's do something together, that is more fun than looking at the phone. So it can be many things. We can listen to music together. We can play music together. In our family, we used to play music together. Alicia and me and our two kids, we all played instruments. We played music together. If you don't play, you can listen to music together, or you can do some fun activity together. You can go out in nature together. So, so again, if you offer activity, because actually the children, they love doing things together. And so if you offer them an activity that is more interesting, more fun, then you won't spend all your time saying, don't do this, don't do that, but rather, oh, let's do that together. And more often than not, they will be happy to do it. So it's really about not putting the emphasis on what is not allowed, although you need a certain framework, but it's not the educational focus is not what is not allowed, but the educational focus is what is good to do, what is the positive, what plants good seeds, what will enrich the children. And I see, for instance, my grandchildren, they go to concert, they go to museum, they go in nature, they play sports, because they do all these wonderful things. They don't feel that they have to spend all their days on the phone, because it's much, much more fun to do things in nature, with sports, with friends, traveling, visiting places, than just looking at a screen sitting at home.
Yes, what you said just resonate deeply with me, because I like drawing, reading stories, and also playing some sport with my little son now, and he really enjoy it, and that's
Sure.
very very interesting to. And the parents also can get benefits from that, because that's the way they can recreation, right? And that we can have a little bit vision here. So from your experience, what might happen? What kind of children might grow up when being ruled by compassionate parents, or a compassionate parent can raise what kind of children in future?
You see, there's two sides to it. We know that abused children often became abusing parents, but not necessarily. Some abused children realized how much suffering that is and became very loving parents. So we should not also hide ourselves behind the fact that, oh, I had a difficult childhood, therefore it's not my fault if I'm not a good parent. We can always transform as a human being, right? So just that's first thing to say, that even if we had a difficult childhood, it should be a reason more to try to be a good parent, so that the suffering that, if we observe within ourselves how much suffering it created, we don't want to reproduce this suffering. Yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing is, And I was already mentioning it, now it's in our family, it's the third, even fourth generation. Uh, and when I observe, like we did our best with our children. We were not perfect because parents are not perfect and are not expected to be perfect, but we did our best. And I'm very proud when I see the way my son and my daughter are doing their parenting, because I really see that they realized more or less consciously what they received and they're passing it on to their children. So it creates a virtuous circle. And I have the feeling for them it's even more natural, even more easy because they grew up with that, you know, and therefore they are creating quite naturally a very caring environment. And when I look at my grandchildren, I'm really impressed because they're really caring young people. For instance, I've been quite ill lately. I had really severe health problems, and uh, uh, and my grandchildren, they are visiting me. They are, asking how I'm doing. I'm really touched because I see this compassion that they have received. They are really able to give it back. For instance, right now, my 16-year-old grandson is in Canada. He's doing an exchange to learn English. So he's in Canada. And he's enjoying himself. 16-year-old is away from the family, is in a different country, and is having a good time. And so of course, my daughter and my son-in-law, they call him regularly. They have, they chat or they Zoom, whatever. And then he heard that I was sick, and he said, "Oh, but if it's helpful, I'm willing to fly back to spend time with grandfather." He's a 16-year-old young man, and he was willing, to give up what really makes him happy, being abroad and with new friends and enjoying himself in Canada, to take care of me if I needed it. I said, no, no, don't worry, it's not necessary. But you see the attitude. So, that's exactly what it is. Caring families, compassionate families generate caring and compassionate society. And that's exactly what we need. We are, as a society, at a crossroad. And what kind of society do we want to have in the future? Do we want to have a society based on power, on violence, on competition, on exclusion, or do we want to have a society that is focusing on happiness and well-being and sustainability, for all people, and inclusion, well-being of the planet? But if we want to change society, we have to change education. So I think it's really, really important as a humankind, we are as a threshold. And if we can teach children how to take good care of themselves, how to live in harmony with themselves, how to be present with themselves, then how to live in harmony with others, how to take care of others, how to love others, and then how to live in harmony with the planet, to care for the planet, then we will have a happy society. So compassionate parenting is not just for the family, it's for the whole society.
Yes, yes. That's a very great vision, and I believe in it. And education is not just the things that teachers or school or educator do, but half of it is from the family, or more than half, I think so, with the parents. And on parent as doing something very noble, that is raising caring and compassion and kind people for the futures. There is some opinions now in Vietnam that the way like compassionate parenting or something like that is something come from outside, but I'm not believe in that, and I know that you might have some argument about the deeper roots of culture of compassionate parenting that lie right here in Vietnamese culture. So can you share about it?
Mm. Yes, absolutely. So I'm deeply convinced that actually the roots or the seeds of compassionate parenting lie deep within the Vietnamese culture for several reasons. One is that we know that family values always have been at the center of Vietnamese culture. Also with ancestor worship and, the awareness of our ancestors and the importance of transmission and so on. So the importance of family is something that is at the very heart of Vietnamese culture. Now, when we look at, I would say, the three main components of Vietnamese culture, one is Buddhism. And in Buddhism, compassion and kindness is at the very heart of Buddhist teaching, right? But also the idea that compassion needs wisdom, compassion needs understanding. There's no real compassion without understanding. Therefore, we need to make an effort to understand our children in order to be truly compassionate. And that's a fundamental Buddhist teaching. The two pillars of enlightenment is compassion and wisdom. So that's not an American idea, that's not a Western idea, it's a Buddhist fundamental Buddhist idea. The second very important dimension is that social responsibility always has been at the heart of Vietnamese culture. We see it from old tradition, from Confucianism, and this idea of that harmony in the individual creates harmony in the family, creates harmony in the society. That's the fundamental view of Confucius, right? That the individual has to be in harmony, the family has to be in harmony, the kingdom will be in harmony, the universe will be in harmony. So again, this is not a foreign idea. This is ancient, this feeling that we are responsible for society. Egoism is not a Vietnamese value. That's very Western. Just it's all about me. But in Vietnamese, in all Asian culture, it's really we are there for the community. And again, when you think of 50 years of independence and reunification, how many millions of people have made sacrifice for the community, for the country, for the nation, and we should continue to be at the service of the nation, although the service today is a different one. We don't need to take a weapon. We don't need to fight. We don't need to go to the battle or the war. But still, we should be in service of society. And compassionate parenting, as we said before, is a way to serve society. Yeah. And lastly, another very important component of Vietnamese culture is Taoism. And Taoism is living in harmony with the universe, living in harmony with nature, living in harmony with the cosmos. So part of what we're doing as parents is try to teach our children how to live in harmony with nature, with the planet. And if we destroy the planet, of course, we are not living in harmony with the planet. So you see, these essential dimensions that for me are the core of what I call happy family, happy schools, happy children, living in harmony with oneself, with others, with the planet, actually mirror values that are deeply ingrained in Vietnamese and, generally speaking, Asian culture.
Yes, so profound, Thầy, and that can make us, all of us here, believe more in the feasibility of practicing and not just practicing, but living with compassion, being compassionate parents. So one last questions for today's. We just said about a lot of things from the definition to the components to the manifestation of compassion in parenting. We share something about difficulty and also with the vision about what we might bring and the bigger impact that it can bring to society. So to start very small, what might be very, very first step, baby step that you advise the parents here to do right after this session?
So the very first step is I would like to encourage parents to take a moment for themselves. Take a moment to come back to themselves. Take a moment to relax. Take a moment to breathe quietly. Take a moment to reflect. Maybe spend a little time in nature, or if you don't have nature, just look at a flower or something, come back to yourself. Because the first step is I need to be at peace with myself. I need to be in harmony with myself. I need to find the space within myself so that I can offer this present, my presence to my children. Yeah? And once you feel okay, you come back from work, you're stressed, you had maybe problems at the office, and you have too much to do, and you're overwhelmed, and you keep receiving emails even though it's evening and whatever. So set everything aside. Don't think right away I have to take care of my children. But you're still stressed, you're still nervous. It won't work. Take a moment for yourself. Maybe read a few pages or whatever it is that is good for you. Listen to music, whatever is helpful for you. And then when you feel now I'm more relaxed, I'm more present, then it's the moment to go and spend some time with your children. And again, it's not about spending hours. It's about having quality time, moments of quality time, even if it's short. Because also the children, they don't want to be with you all the time. They're also happy to have their time on their own or with their friends but that they know, okay, at least maybe not every day, but regularly there are moments where my father, my mother, they are there for me. And if I have something to share, they will listen. They will not immediately react. They will not immediately tell me, don't do this, do that. But they will be just there listening to me, empathizing, understanding, caring. Even if you don't have a solution, you don't have to have the solution for everything, but just that you are here and you listen with care, with compassion, that's already healing. And this we can do it right away. We don't have to wait to do it. So take time for yourself, take time for your children.
Thank you, Thầy. I'm healing now. I'm healed now with just what you just shared. Yes, and being with myself first is the first step I can do to being with my children and with other people, and to deliver creation time for all of us. So thank you so much, Thầy, for the amazing keynote speech. And so now we will say goodbye to the parents, and we hope that we can meet you again in other events. So you can say some greetings to them.